one demo, maybe one feature. I just want to go over actually two small features and new speech magic. Okay, the first feature is next previous buttons. Actually, we have some context-aware forms. You know what is context-aware form?
Data windows.
The data windows forms that actually didn't have next previous buttons. They only have OK button, but there was no option to navigate between previous and next actions. There was 4 such forms. The generic form. Actually, generic form maybe it's most important because it is used for some site configurations when the site wants to put some data in some data windows.
Justification data window usually.
Yeah, exactly. And it didn't have next previous buttons. Also, post-exam, financials, and protocols viewers didn't have next previous buttons. We just added these buttons to these forms. Now you can navigate between next and previous. Okay, we have some new permissions that, as a result of that, we added several new permissions. You can see buttons previous, next for generic, for post-exam. Protocol. I noticed when I worked on that, I noticed that protocol form had some buttons without permissions, and on the way I added these permissions, so user may need to define extra permissions here. All of the permissions are described here in this document. You are familiar with this document, right? We have one document that describes all small features. Okay, this is the first feature.
Just as a quick note, these aren't special next to previous buttons like diagnose next. These are just a generic next to previous buttons.
Just pops to the next one on the list.
Exactly.
Yeah, and one thing that I forgot to mention here.
Maybe it's a good point to mention that we didn't add it to documentation because there is a different logic which pick the next. So in documentation, you actually in the scope of a single patient, and the logic is quite different. So and it's too risky, and that's why we didn't. We thought on a few use cases which could actually put us in a risk. So that's why it's not there. Don't ask for it.
And in documentation, most times they're working with a single case and they're not doing a bulk style workflow.
Okay, I also added a new parameter to the GUI action for actually all of the forms. It's autosave previous next. That means if when user clicks next and we have some changes in the form, if the user will be prompted if we want to save the changes, or changes will be automatically saved. Okay, if it's actually this parameter is set to true, the changes will be saved automatically. If it false or no, it's set for no false, the user will be prompted with the message. Okay, so this is the first feature. The second feature,
and that's based on the RIS action. So if we're using post-exam for multiple RIS actions, you can set it independently for each RIS action.
yeah. Okay, the another feature I will overview it here. I don't think if you want, I can show it live. Okay, some sites, actually HSO I think, ask us to add. Let's say we have a report. We're talking about RIS reporting. For RIS reporting, when you have a report that is not approved, we have preliminary warning field. It says that the report is not preliminary report. Right. HSO asked us to add a new field that will also mention the status of the current status of the report. Okay, for example, the report is now in exam done status. or maybe dictated, transcribed, and one, and two. So for now, the user actually couldn't do that because we are not saving the status when study is loaded. Let's say study is loaded in exam done status. Okay, the study is in exam done status. Once user clicks on Sunny 1, the stat when before we are going to save the report and all the data, we are rendering the report once again, just refreshing it because user may change some data windows data, and this data should be reflected in the report. But status could not be reflected there because we updated status on the server side. On the client side, we wasn't updating at all. So now we added a new option. We actually updating the status of the report now also on the client side, but only for the specific actions. We are updating this action, as I said here, we actually updating the status during diagnose and create edit report screens. We have diagnose screen, we have create and edit report screen for transcriptionist. There, when user doing the actions on these forms, for example, sign 1 action, sign 2 action, sign 3 action, dictated action, transcribed action, we will update the status of, we're calling the status of the report, and this status will be shown in the report itself once the report is refreshing before it's going to the server side. So how it's working now, we added a new internal fields. It's not, we have in the report we have the user input fields, data fields, and internal fields. Internal fields till now are defined as body or addendum fields or preliminary report field. It's not something that can be populated from the data window data. It's populated hard-coded. So now we have a new field. It's called report status. It's also internal field. That means we are populating this data in the code. We cannot access this field from data windows. It's not affected by data windows data. Or let's say we have a status in PPS table. You cannot take this status from PPS table. You just map it to some field. It will not work. We created a new internal field, report status. It should be added to the report somewhere where the user wants, and it will be populated, hard-coded by the status from one of the actions, as I said, in diagnose we created the report. Because if, for example, if I now have some change status to actions, I was in work list and I click on the study and I moved its status from, let's say it was assigned 1, and I moved, and user moved it using change status to in the work list to some custom status. This status will not be reflected in the report. And report it will stay assigned 1 status. As I said, this report status internal field is updated only during diagnose to created report action forms. The only one thing that will also update the report status is application server finalization task. When once user assigns the study, it goes to the finalization task in application server. The study will be finalized there. We will remove some brackets, so we treat an addendum. But and there also we now treating this internal field. We will update it to be true. As you know, once user clicks sign 3, the study status and the report status will be sign 3. And once it finalized, it will become true, probably. Okay, so we added also some GUI action that says don't actually display approved status there and just leave it empty, because sometimes actually this status is created for, to display in which status the preliminary report is now. And when the report is approved, it's already not preliminary anymore, so maybe users don't want to show the approved status there so we added a new configuration. Okay, I don't want to elaborate more on that. It's clear. There have any questions. I also don't want to show it. Do you want me to show it in live and then like that?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, the only question I have about it is that it must be some type of internal field in database, correct?
It's internal. It's not a database.
It's not in database?
Okay, let me show you.
Unlike the preliminary report warnings field was.
Yeah, I will show you.
Okay.
In my environment.
The scenario I'm thinking about is that you, from an interface perspective, you may be getting reports from a third party, bringing them in, right? It should always be final approved, right? So I guess we would just not use that feature.
Yeah, that won't
No, it's only
actually,
for production,
Yeah.
it's not for migration.
No, well, it's not, it is for production too.
well,
Like, there's
no,
lots-
it doesn't apply to
When you
imported
migrate, you move them
studies.
always in improvement.
Yeah, but it's not only migration, there are some times that we will get a third party system
HL7.
and it'll come in and it'll be approved. So, yeah, it should never happen, we don't need to update that in
It's
those
really
cases.
only an internal field to be used for risk generated reports. Generated inside the diagnosis.
Maybe you should add it to the document that it will include only risk reporting, only risk generated reports.
Okay.
אז מה מבינים?
I just want to clarify what is internal field to prevent any confusion. Okay, I'll just open trees in our environment. Okay, customization studio report editor. Yes, in report editor.
This won't even apply to reports that are imported from the
Document.
reporting.
I have some keys here. Okay, when I'm creating a new report template or I'm using existing report template, okay, you know, I have here different types of fields. I have data fields, internal fields. Then I can use new internal field now, as I said. It's called report status. You can select it and just add it to the somewhere here. It is added here, and we'll just okay. Okay, so it's added here, and it will contain the report status. So it's clear now what is internal field. Okay. Okay, so this is the second feature. I will really shortly